Hey, welcome in everyone. This is Dan French, and you guys, we have a good one to unpack today. We're going to talk about excessive deaths since the pandemic need to be thoroughly investigated, and they're saying that a lot of these deaths that's going on recently have been contributed to people that have actually got the vaccine. And we're going to go into this a little bit deeper. I'm going to bring my good friend here, Chris, in. Chris, what's up, my man? How are you?
My brother, it's good to be back, man. It's good to for us to, with our hectic schedules, we haven't been able to deliver these perspectives and these outlooks to the viewers. So we appreciate everyone for your patience. But let's go ahead and get to it.
Yeah, if you guys out there, this is July 5th today, so everybody hopefully had a safe, 4th of July. And
Right.
let's get right into this, man. How about you? Did you have a good 4th, real quick, Chris?
I was working, so
Okay.
out here in Vegas, they take July 4th pretty seriously with the casinos and a lot of people having access to illegal fireworks. So yes, hopefully everybody was safe, at least out here on our side. I'm pretty sure they have illegal fireworks everywhere, but if you did, hopefully you had a good time and it was safe and no one was harmed.
All right, so let's get right into this. So, excessive deaths since the pandemic need to be thoroughly investigated. So, I'm going to go ahead and bring this in, and we're going to look at this article here, Chris. Um, let's talk about what your thoughts are on this, and if you even have, or if you agree with it, because the CDC came out and stated that that's not true. And this is a report that came from the Netherlands, and they stated that there's been a lot of evidence saying that people. I think even also on the guy on Valuetainment had it on there as well. The guy that owns that platform, he was talking about this, and so there's been a lot of evidence out there that has shown from the Netherlands that there's been mass deaths contributed to this, and then the CDC said no, that's not true. That's false information. So let's get right into it. I want to bring this up here. So, excessive deaths since the pandemic need to be thoroughly investigated. This is a report that came out from the New York Post. And it's stating that world leaders and policymakers need to thoroughly investigate whether vaccines contributed to excessive deaths in the U.S. and other Western countries in the 3 years since the pandemic took hold. Analyzing mortality data from 47 Western countries, scientists from the Netherlands found that excessive mortality has remained high, and despite the widespread of rollout of COVID vaccines and various containment measures, it goes on to talk a little bit more about, that's about it. So, what are your thoughts on this, Chris? I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is something that, if you look at it, these deaths are accurate, and this is data that's been contributed to this?
In reference to this, there's no telling what is accurate and what's not. I think that the whole how the whole approach on how it was handled, because it was at that point in time, they claimed that it was an unprecedented and unforeseen shakeup in the world as a whole on what COVID did, and we saw that during a pandemic exactly what can transpire amongst fear, uncertainty, so on and so forth. And then with multiple reports coming out, false, unfalse, oh, that's not true, 6 feet, the masks, the whole thing to me has been a circus in a sense. Now, when I don't want to say a circus and it's not believable, but even from the dating back to how COVID even came, they blamed it on China, and I don't know if that's true or not. It's just the lack of transparency, and then as far as the public worldwide, they just don't trust these outside entities who are supposed to be protecting the people's best interest in terms of the safety and what they allow and what they don't allow and what they approve. And that trust has been, I mean, I think they should come out with a survey on trust. And if you do trust the CDC and who else measures on these, vaccines as a whole, FDA, and I bet you that number is extremely low. So,
Well, I'm going to bring this up real quick, Chris. So let's talk a little bit on. Let's go back to look at this article here. So it says, of those excessive deaths, more than 1 million occurred in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. Those figures, however, remain high, and you could see here, right here, the death that includes fatalities directly linked to the virus, as well as indirect effects on health strategies to address the virus spread and infection. The researchers added that side effects from the vaccine have been documented, including strokes, acute coronary syndrome, and also brain hemorrhages. So that's some of the things that they're also putting light on. Again, the CDC has come out and stated that that's not accurate. It goes on to talk about more than 100 or 1.1 million Americans have died from COVID since the pandemic broke out, according to the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. During the pandemic, it emphasized by politicians and media that COVID-19 death mattered, and every life deserved protection throughout the containment measures of COVID-19. So, when you talk,
real,
when
real
you look
quick,
at this,
real quick.
yeah,
I mean, real quick. Even when you read those figures, they're
yeah,
tough to they're tough to trust because, from my understanding in past reports, it has nothing to do in relation to this report. But even in past reports that I've seen,
yeah,
hospitals were getting kickback as long as they could say that it was COVID related. So we don't even know how much of that is what is that? What word would that be? Puffed up or
yeah.
inflated, so to speak.
So the
Someone could have
question,
came in there, you know what I mean? Someone could have came in there and passed away from something else, and if they
mhm.
can document it as COVID, then the hospital would get a kickback. So
So my question on this is, do you believe that there's a contributing factor in additional deaths that's gone on here in the U.S. by COVID and the vaccine being utilized?
yes, in terms of that,
Okay.
yes. And I don't know what the strong, like I said, I don't know the data and the figures because there would be no way to measure that. But yes, I do think that.
And why do you think? What do you think these numbers are more than what is showing here, or do you think it's this is being generous, or is it like you said, some of this data is maybe not accurate? Have you known anybody from specific health reasons related to, they say they're related to the COVID vaccine? Do you know anybody out there that has had problems once they had the COVID vaccine and then had some type of problems medically, and they know that that's probably one of the biggest factors of contributing to why they have those problems is from the vaccine? Do you know anybody or have anybody related to you or friends or anybody that you know that's gone through this?
Me personally, someone who did not take the vaccine, so I can't speak from personal experience. But yes, I do know people personally, whether from work, family members. Nothing in terms of like a serious matter, but like, oh, it's never really been the same. Cloudy memory, never really got their full taste back, smell.
Really?
Yeah, things like that. But like I said, it has it. Does it have anything to do with the vaccine? That's We don't know if that's correlated to that. But I mean, they would know their own body, and if they took the vaccine and now have side effects, then I mean, but then again, and this is not to defend the vaccine at all because I didn't take it. But there's a lot of side effects to all medication in a sense. So you're gonna have that. Period. Other than that, yes, to answer your question, I have known people, or I do know personally people that have had complications after taking the vaccine.
Well, my parents, they took the vaccine, and there's other people that I know have taken the vaccine, and again, no side effects that I can relate to for that reason. And there was a gentleman that I used to do a show with. He was actually a really good friend of mine, and I don't want to say his name, but we used to do a podcast together, and he got the vaccine, and his situation was a little different because he used to work out. He was in his 70s, and I talk about him a lot. He was a guy that was a really good person, had a really good personality, and he elected not to take the vaccine, and ultimately, he got COVID and he had to go to the hospital and he did not want to be on a ventilator because, he has a little bit of a pride situation and he worked out. So, I felt that for my parents have had no side effect, knock on wood, right? But also everybody I've known has not really had too many side effects. I know there's some people that I know that would need to get that vaccine because they could not go back to work. So personally, I don't know anybody that's had any type of problems that have come with the vaccine itself. I do know that there's a lot of people out there that have had problems taking the vaccine. I personally did not take the vaccine, and it's just because of this reason. When you look at the situation of people out there, taking things quickly because the media goes out and states, "Hey, you know what? You need to do this quickly because if you don't, we got the cure, we got this." I know Trump came out and he was talking about taking it. It's like a cocktail. It takes time for you to really take tests on those things, right? So you don't really know what the situation is. You're almost like a guinea pig, right? They're gonna test it on you as being the first people out there taking it, and we won't know the side effects for years to come. A lot of times it's like this too, Chris. When you look at people all the time, I hear people that were dealing with some type of let's say a gentleman the other day that I met, he said that he was out and he was in a specific area in Nevada that they were doing some type of testing, right, for military, and not till later he found out that he had cancer related to that specific situation. So I think it comes down to we don't really know what the outcomes are of these things, and to put something foreign into your body without having those tests. They're saying that the CDC usually has to go through a series of tests 5 to 7 years before they actually put it out and say it's safe. So I agree with those numbers. And honestly, I don't, I hope my parents never have any issues health-wise from that. I know other people, like I said, that have taken it because they used to work on just at their job. They had to take it. So for me, I don't know. I think that when you look at this COVID thing that's going on, it's really, if you think about it, COVID, the vaccine is a thing of the past. With all this thing that's going on and all these things that's happened, it was really just a short-lived period, it feels like, because you don't even hear about it in the news anymore, right?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, even going back to like something related to like what something later in the news, like Kyrie Irving was basically almost ostracized by the NBA because he didn't want to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
So much so that he was willing to, he lost millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. And I'm not saying for anyone to feel sorry for him, but he didn't believe in it. He was like, no, I'm not going to follow along with everybody. It was a league standard. And where it was not, where you didn't have to get the vaccine, he was able to play in those cities. So now he looks like the person who was smarter than everybody else, because all the other majority of the basketball players, because they didn't want to miss out on money, or they might have believed in the vaccine, they went ahead and took it. And now he's looking like, there's a lot of people, millions of people who didn't take it, and they're completely fine. So I do agree with your first point, is that you just roll something out. It was rushed. However, people were getting sick and dying. So they had to, I guess, rush with some type of diligence the best they could. However, you had the trailblazers, I guess if that's what you want to call the people who didn't take the vaccine, say, nope, I'm not going to just be the guinea pig and we'll see what happens. And it's looking like the people who didn't take it look like they're correct, because they didn't take it. We didn't take it. I should say, I'm going to add myself in there because I didn't. And we're completely fine.
All right. So I'm going to say a couple things here. Let's go over some of these comments that they made actually here on this topic, and what you can give your opinion on it, Chris.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and bring this in. So we don't know who these people are, but it says, this is back on June 6th. It takes a minimum 5 years for FDA to approve any drug or vaccine to get into the market. In many cases, it's 7 to 14 years. Some of it's red tape. More importantly, it's thoroughly clinical trials that takes time. again, we just talked about that. So I see your side of it, Chris, where it's like we don't have the time. But again, you have all these deaths, and a lot of them are being contributed to this. And it's kind of a, you're damned if you don't, you're damned if you do type of thing. So it's one of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
What risk do you take? You know,
Uh-huh.
it's a very tough situation. It's interesting though how COVID was such a big deal. They pushed the narrative. Heard about it every other on every media platform, and now you don't hear about it anywhere. And I want to say one other thing about that. You brought up Kyrie Irving. Let's not even bring up just him. He was looks like he was smarter than most, right? Not doing that. Here's what I'm going to tell you is what about these places or these companies that did pull those, like, you ever hear those companies pull that money or make them do something that they're not willing to do, and then they just pull the plug on. Again, it's their decision, their sponsors, but do they ever come back and say, oh, we made a mistake? Oh, we
No,
probably,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, we're all these other, like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. There's because there was even people in the workplace
Yeah.
who were now the vaccine is not even required. So let's just, yeah, you're right. Let's take Kyrie Irving out of it, and let's just talk about the everyday worker. There were some people
Exactly.
who like didn't want to take the vaccine, and they were let go. So
It's interesting.
in terms
Instead
of,
of yeah,
yeah,
instead of coming out and saying we made a mistake, it's on us. And what I mean by that is not making a mistake. It should be left up to you, but to fire somebody or to not have them, they could say, well, it helped contribute. Not necessarily, because how is it 3 years later that we don't hear about anything about it? Just like the news
you
goes,
don't even
right?
need
Just
it
like
any, yeah,
it's not.
for a long
If it
time
was
they were,
such a
well, not a long time, yeah, but
yeah,
for months they were pushing that you need to have it to be even higher. Like if you're not
exactly,
vaccinated, don't even apply.
exactly.
And
And I think
it's
that's
not
the
even a thing
problem.
anymore. It's a cock of shit, is what it is.
Let's go to the next one here. I just want to bring up the long-term phase of the trials being done on the world population. Before COVID, they were having difficulty getting it from the lab into public use. What are your thoughts on that?
It, like you said, damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yep.
You know, I, I guess I don't want to say we're old school, but man, people get sick, man. You know what I mean? Like you get sick, the body fights it, and the body can't fight it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of outside contributing factors to see how your body's going to respond to a certain sickness.
Yep.
And adequate rest and being hydrated and good old fashioned vitamin C and chicken soup, those are my pillars in terms of when I don't feel well, and they've served me well these past 43 years. So it's just to go around jabbing yourself and always looking for a quick remedy. I don't know, man. I get, but then again, it's my belief system too, and so we can't always challenge people's different beliefs. But
I mean, it's crazy. It's 50. I think it's like 50-50. The I don't know. Maybe it's different, but I just that's my perception. But you look at it's not a vaccine. You know what I mean? Some people are saying it's not a vaccine. They literally had to redefine the definition of vaccine to sell it to the public.
yeah,
I do know that if you're pushing thousands of dollars for people to go take the vaccine because they're not willing to take it, obviously there's not a lot
millions,
of confidence. You
a
know,
millions, yeah,
yeah, it's
millions.
crazy. And I think there was a if you look at the companies it's themselves, they made so much money off those vaccines. Who's really behind the scenes making that money? In my opinion, it should have never they should have never made any money. If we're in crisis mode and we have a situation with this COVID, then my opinion is that nobody should profit. This should be about
Yes,
humanity.
yeah, you're right. There's a lot of corporate greed. I wouldn't be surprised if like there was corporations where, hey, for everyone who gets vaccinated, you document that, send it to us, and then you get a check back for all your documented vaccinated workers.
One
And
hundred
so that's
percent.
probably why they rolled. Yeah, that's probably why they rolled out. Hey, to work here, you need to get vaccinated so they can get a kickback. It's
All right, man.
just
So I'm gonna say this. Let's
crooked.
wrap it up. We kind of gone through and gave our opinion on this. What do you have any? You have any other thoughts on anything?
I mean, nah, brother, it's unfortunate, man. When you talk about life and death, and just everyone out there, be safe, cover your mouth when you cough, wash your hands, like get the basics when it comes to your health. So, anyone who's lost a family member and it's a sensitive topic, prayers out to you and your family, and that's what me, Dan, and myself got on this topic.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing, Chris. I'm going to kind of extend that. So I'm going to say that, with my situation and my experiences have not been very good dealing with COVID. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, though, that I agree with COVID, people not taking the COVID vaccine, because I didn't take the vaccine. And I'd be willing to take my risk and my chances just because I don't want to put something in my body I'm not familiar with. Now, out there that people have lost others and friends, family, and anybody that they know, it's very unfortunate. We're very sorry for that. But I also want to say that, did the vaccine really do its purpose? And I think that's the statistics and data that we're trying to find out. Did it really enhance people's immune system? Did it really help, or did it hurt more? I think people are 50-50. I think it probably
I say hurt.
I would say, yeah, you would say hurt.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would say so too, because there's not, if you go look at the news, there's not much out there that has any positive effects or impact that you hear in the news about anything, mostly, other than, hey, take your vaccine, take your vaccine. There's some things out there that, obviously if it's an agenda by the media to say, hey, everybody's doing well, but with all these stories coming out and everybody's still kind of on the fence about, did this even do anything or did it cause more harm? I would have to say it caused more harm, just because I don't see enough data or information that says that it actually helped people get over COVID. I think people's immune system, if they were weak, it really helped, push them to the point of not being able to make it through COVID. And I think if you had a strong immune system, I got COVID, and I went through it and I didn't have a problem. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't make me feel bad. It just felt like a typical flu to me. So everybody it affects differently. And people out there, we're sorry that if you lost anybody from COVID. But at the end of the day, I think this story is constantly coming out stating that, COVID is just not, it's not something that you want to mess with, but the vaccine did not help. And so I guess that's my last comment. You have anything else, Chris?
No, I think that's it, brother.
All right, man.
Appreciate everybody.
This is Dan French. We'll see you guys at the next one, because we're out of here. Thanks for your time.